squeeze past you.
We'll have yourselves a mic. Hold yourselves a seat.
Sorry. Oh, sorry. I need to squeeze past you. Camera. You tell that, Peter.
Hello.
Sorry about that.
How are you all? That should be on.
That's I'm trying to take a picture.
Fourth mic on there. Is it switched on? Oh, it's not even switched on, is it? Well, that was a great start. That's right. Is yours on there? Yeah, was it? Yeah. Great stuff. Right. So nice to have you here. Thank you very much.
Nice to be here.
And we thought we've been doing this with all our guests on the buzz stage today. We would just do a little bit of a, rather than talking about being straight off, as we know, so that's the main reason why everybody's here today. We do something called Getting to Know You. So we're not going to do loads, because we're not going to be loads of fan questions, we want to get to those. So we're going to do some either-ors.
Can I just... there is a question that I want to ask Peter.
Right.
Is that all right?
Of course.
No, it's not all right, no.
Yeah. Peter, I understand from my Twitter feed that you did a fan convention called Time Eddie in America. Is that right? Time Eddie?
Don't ask me that. I can't remember anything further than last week.
Okay. It's just that they tell me that you did an impersonation of me. And at some point, I'd like to see what that impersonation was.
Is that just me being loud and swearing a lot? That's my impersonation of you.
Oh, that is so not like me at all. You're not going to do it, are you?
I can't remember what it was. What did I do?
How do I know?
Oh, fuck. Oh, I can't swear really. I can't swear. How can I do an impersonation of you without swearing?
I don't swear.
Possible.
That is just not true.
You're Australian.
With that, let's move on. Okay. So, yeah, Getting to Know You.
Poor Sarah is between you.
She's the referee. It's like this when we do Big Finish.
Would you
It's like this at breakfast. I'd have to say, it's so difficult. I love both of them, but winter because it's my birthday in the winter, and then it's Christmas, and so there's lots of presents.
Lots of partying going on.
Summer! Please! I know that you don't get summer up here in Glasgow, but believe me, it's a very nice season that a lot of the rest of the globe enjoys, just not here in Scotland.
But in Brisbane you never get winter, really, do you?
No. And it really is hot. When I went home this year, it was 28 degrees at night. It was so hot, and that was March, which is going into our winter.
It's pretty hot in here today, mind, as well. So probably not as hot, but still. How about cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Cats. Cats.
I've got cats at home, but I like
We're
dogs
just
as
not
well.
compatible at all, are we?
No! What you're saying that like you're surprised.
Comedy or drama?
Comedy, I have to say.
Drama. Comedy.
Yeah. Last one then, Doctor Who one. Daleks or Cybermen?
Well, I'm going to say Cybermen. Because they were the Doctor Who monster I loved growing up and terrified me. More than Daleks, because they just move quicker for a start. Yes, I'd say Cybermen. Slightly controversial, I know, but I'm going for Cybermen.
Cybermen. Daleks. I'm sorry, but like, it's the villain I remember from childhood who scared the hell out of me, and it's like the Weeping Angels. Why do the Weeping Angels work? You know, why do Daleks work as being scary? But they do. Yeah. And it's that soft jelly-like stuff in them, and I know people like that.
This is a tough panel. Right, so let's hop into the questions, the Who questions now. So we obviously met your companions in the time where the companions didn't really get a proper story arc for themselves. Like the newer Who you had the Rose story, and she came back. Your characters, they had a story to a degree, but they didn't. You didn't get to find out a lot more about them than I think you probably would have had your characters have been in New Who. So, where would you see your two companions sort of venturing if we were in New Who?
If they came back, heaven forfend, if they came back, where would?
What? You wouldn't want us back? What you're saying is you don't want us back?
I wouldn't be there, would I?
I'm offended.
I'm just saying, I just imagine the world, you know, with, not you, Sarah, obviously, certain companions.
Oh, I see.
Answer the question.
If we start off with Nissa first.
I think you're right to a certain extent. The difference between the new series and our series, there was at least two of us in the TARDIS, was more of us in the TARDIS, so I think that was a slight complication. But our stories have managed to evolve through the Big Finish audios, so we have had other journeys, and particularly with Nissa. I've been old Nissa and young Nissa that looked old Nissa, and I've lost the plot really with how many Nissas I've been, but we have managed that. One thing Big Finish has done is it's given us an opportunity to pad out our backstories, as it were. Yeah.
Well, the thing about the new series is that they're 45-minute stories. So we did 23 minutes, including recap from the previous week. So what happened when you've got 23 minutes to tell a story is that you come in running, you run faster and faster and faster, and then there's a cliffhanger. And that means that there's a different type of storytelling. And so there's no time much for light and shade, which, you know, you've got a lot more time for in a 45-minute story. And that's
because
just...
there were more
hang on, I don't want to be
up.
contentious there, but in fact, our actual stories were longer than the 40.
Yeah, they were, but the individual episodes
Formatted differently, weren't they?
were more about action. And you think of the number of scenes that we had in a story. You know, we'd get a 23-minute script, and there'd be 60 scenes.
Yes, I agree with you. But it's about really that they did struggle to write for companions in those days, didn't they? Because they couldn't quite figure how to do it.
Yeah.
And I think,
well, that was because companions were often females.
What? Well,
Companions were often female, and that confused them.
I don't think that's the problem, though. I think they just struggled with... I mean, you had a very nice story in Kinder, didn't you?
Yeah, Kinder and
You had a
Snake
very
Dance.
nice story.
Yeah, Snake Dance, very nice.
Very
Very nice stories.
Oh,
very nice
lovely.
stories, yes. So, I mean, I think I think the secret was when the series came back and Russell T Davies was doing it. He was a great storyteller and an empathetic storyteller. He almost saw the Doctor through the eyes of the companion, which I think they should have thought of a bit earlier on. I think that was why I think the companions have been better, have better story arcs recently. What are you looking at? I've got something on my shoe.
Is that loo paper?
I don't. No, it's a label.
Some sort.
Sorry.
So for sort of the younger fans who maybe hadn't seen any of the classic Who, the first time we'll have met your incarnation would have been in the Children in Need Time Crash.
Yeah.
How was that going back to play in the Doctor on? I know you'd obviously done some Big Finish before that.
Yeah.
How was it going back to play him on TV?
Well, it didn't feel like returning to my set because by this time it was being made in Cardiff. Yeah. And it was David had his own complete set, which was a standing set, which means it was there for the entire series. With our TARDIS console room, it was just wheeled in every third week, and we would film it. So it never seemed substantial. I never felt like, I was back home, and who was this imposter David Tennant? I felt very much like I was visiting. But that said, I enjoyed it immensely. It was great to do.
Yeah, it went down quite well.
Yeah, it did go down
especially
quite
it kind of
well.
merged the older fans and the newer fans together. So I want to go back to the companions again, and you find that obviously in your time there was three of you for most of the time.
Yep.
You two and Adric. If you were to come
that wasn't
back,
for very long.
well, there was a little bit of time where the three of you were together. Not
It was
necessarily
about-
saying a long time.
No, it was about half that first series, wasn't
It
it?
wasn't actually that long, was it? And then
No.
when Mark came, perhaps he and I only had like one scene together.
Yeah.
So they kind of just overlap very slightly.
But there was-
Most of the time it
Yeah.
was two of us.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you still had another companion as
Yeah.
long as well
But
as the
that
Doctor.
wasn't uncommon. Wendy Padbury and Fraser Hines, the first TARDIS crew, which was Caroline Ford,
the three of them,
Barbara
yeah.
and Willie Russell, you know, it wasn't that uncommon.
I suppose not. I thought a bit like that, but
Yeah.
So
Anyway,
we've seen a couple of the older companions come back in the Sarah Jane Adventures.
Uh-huh.
If you two were to return, which new companion would you have liked to have maybe teamed up with?
new
New
companion.
companion from the newer series would you like to have maybe teamed up with?
Oh, Billy Piper probably.
Yeah.
Billy Piper or what's her name? Oh my God, senior moment. Donna, the character Donna.
Catherine Tate.
Catherine Tate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that there's in a way Catherine Tate's first appearance kind of in a way echoed yours because you kind of just appeared in the TARDIS.
Yeah.
And she kind of materialised, so that's quite nice that that connection's been made there. I think I want to open up to the floor for some fan questions. Anybody, put your hands in the air.
Oh, just a few.
What I'm going to do, I'm going to run up to our Mr. Baker over here because I spoke to this man earlier on. He's got a question. It's for you, Peter.
Yes, my question is basically for you, Peter. It's just if, when I left the show, did I give you any advice on how to take over the part? And if so, can you remember at all what it was?
Well, all you're saying is you're getting so old you can't remember what your advice was to me.
Yes.
Actually, I didn't hear it. It's perfectly true. You did give me some advice in the bar of the BBC before we recorded the regeneration, and I couldn't hear for the noise in the bar what you said. It's absolutely true. So I just nodded and went, right.
Right.
It's absolutely true. I didn't feel able to go, I'm sorry, what, Tom? Sorry, could you repeat? So I just went, you might have told me his mum was dead.
Oh.
I would have gone, right.
Yes.
So it was not, yeah, sorry about that.
Might have been that.
I'm
yes.
sorry I missed that.
Fair enough. Thank you very much, Peter.
Very good. Give him a round of applause for that. Hello.
Hello. My question's for Peter, actually. Out of those two on the stage, who is your least favourite?
I think we all should just leave right now.
At this very moment in time, or just... I can't possibly comment, or I'd never leave this arena alive.
That is so true.
That might give you a hint, actually. Okay.
These microphones are nice and heavy.
You're jumping to conclusions there, John.
Yeah, I wonder why that is.
Quiet ones you need to be wary of, isn't it? Yeah.
Hello, Peter. How do you feel that the new Doctor is going to be female?
What? I'm sorry, I can't hear that. It's the feedback. I just can't hear that. Sorry. No, I'm just not going. I'm not just saying anything about anything to do with anything like that. Sorry, I get into too much trouble if I even express anything. So I'm going to pass on that. Thank you.
Okay, we'll go over here.
My question's for Peter. Apart from yourself, who's your favourite Doctor?
Well, this is always a slightly difficult question because my doctor was Patrick Troughton. But I also have certain vested interests in other doctors, and so I'd like to point out what a great job David Tennant did. So of the two, it's a toss-up really between those two. But I think Patrick Troughton was my doctor when I was growing up.
I asked the Torchwood lot this earlier, but well, there's two questions. But the first one, I'm doing an acting course at college, so what free tips would you give me?
Sorry, what was that question? Is that for me?
One tip from each of you.
Oh, right, a tip. Turn up on time. Learn the words.
Oh, I know that one.
Don't bump into the furniture.
Be persistent. Be focused.
Yeah, be focused. That would be my top advice, is be focused.
Also, my second question for Peter. Would you mind calling me the Doctor, just so I can put on my Facebook, Peter Davison called me the Doctor?
You are the Doctor.
Thank you.
This is for everybody. From New Who, what show would you like to have made? If you could pick any of the stories from New Who.
If we could pick any of the stories from New Who, which story would we pick to be in? I know immediately. Is it called Midnight? The one with Russell T Davies' story, which is set on the transporter. It's a David Tennant story, and I just thought it was fabulous. It's a sealed room mystery. It's a classic sealed room mystery, and yet we never solved the mystery. And it's just brilliant, 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 brilliant. And the second one would be Blink. Two good ones.
Well, can I have one of yours? Because I have to admit, I don't watch the new series. So I can't give you an answer to that question.
My favourite story, I think, from the new so far has been Olios Stephen Moffat story, which is The Empty Child. I never thought about myself being in it, but that's my favourite story. That shut them up, didn't it?
It shut them up, yeah.
Yes.
Who was your favourite guest actor to work with?
Favourite guest actor to work with?
Yeah.
Well, Michael Cochrane. He was very funny. He actually lives very close to me now, and I see him quite often. And he was very, very funny. That was doing a Black Orchid, which was filmed at quite a stressful time. There was restrictions on studio time and things, and he was very funny. He just kept making me smile, even though it was all a bit grim at the time. So yeah.
And I loved the woman who played my Aunt Vanessa, Delore Whiteman, and she was quite a well-known actress in Australia, and she stayed friends with me, and you know, we became very close friends. So she would probably be my favourite for a whole set of personal reasons.
I mean, I had most fun, really. I don't think he was my favourite actor in the sense of doing scenes with, but I just loved Peter Wingard. He was just he was so outrageously silly, but in the end we all grew to love him. I mean, he did some mad and crazy, over-the-top things, but he was a very, very entertaining man.
Yeah. And I loved, do you remember Nigel Stock?
Nigel Stock.
Yes. Yeah, Nigel Stock, Michael Cashman, and
actually,
Keith,
yes. Yeah.
Keith
Maybe I'll
Crispin's
change my
boys.
answer.
Crispin's boys. We had such a laugh. Oh, Time Flight. We had a huge, huge laugh.
Michael
on Time
Melia,
Flight.
Visitation.
Oh yeah, we had a lot of fun actually.
Yes, Time Flight was particularly good.
Yeah.
In a way, because we had no money, no budget, and
We had to make our own
all we
fun.
could do to fill in the time was to laugh.
But we got to film on Concorde.
We did, yeah. Yeah, unfortunately we never took off in it. Yes.
If any of you were asked to return to Doctor Who, would you?
Oh yes. In whatever capacity, really. Yeah, no, certainly. I never felt the need to distance myself from the programme, so yeah.
I would now, because I've been doing the Big Finish. But before, when I was asked, no, because I was an agent, and I thought, you know, I've moved on, and I you know, I was running women in film and television for quite a while, and I thought I wanted to leave acting behind. But now it's not, you know, I've moved away from it so far. I'm not, and I'm doing Big Finish, so yeah, I'd love to.
Yes, absolutely I would, but I won't be holding my breath because I don't think that's going to happen.
No, I don't think it's going to happen.
Okay, over here.
Hi, this is very exciting. Because I'm a very aspiring young British actress, Australian actor, what would you give tips-wise to get into places like the BBC and stuff like that? How would you
get into where?
Like the BBC for acting, and how would you say to go about it? and such.
Well, I suppose you don't get into the BBC for acting. I mean, that's just one
Yeah.
possible employer. There's loads of. I mean, really, the answer these days is to come up with an idea for yourself. That's one of the best things you can do. There are many people that eventually get to make TV programs, and it's a project which they've come up with on their own, and it's possible nowadays to get those kind of programs made.
Just moving, I think it was me.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Do you want to come over and give your question?
That's the question for Peter. That's a question for all of you.
Okay.
Okay. If BBC asked you to come in the Christmas one in December, what would you say to them if they asked you to come in the Christmas episode?
Well, I'd say yes, but sadly it's already been made. So
Maybe a bit late.
I think it's a bit late for this Christmas
a bit
episode.
Maybe next Christmas.
Yeah.
Got time for one more, if that's all right with you?
Okay.
Yeah, let's go over here.
Hello. So I have one question.
You're not well, are you?
What, do I lack rosy cheeks or something?
Yeah.
I've never seen a pale person before. Anyway, so what was it like for the three of you? What was it like to act in the Doctor Who series in general? What did it feel like? And what was the experience like for you?
Oh, that's a big question.
It was, well, I always felt it was as much a technical exercise as an acting exercise, really. There are so many things you had to consider. Just hitting right marks, making sure you were looking in the right direction for some effect that could be put on afterwards. So it was a good training in how to get things technically right. There were very few scenes which I felt were good acting scenes to do. And even if there had been, there was precious little time to do it in. You got a couple of takes and then time to move on. So I enjoyed it, but it was hard work. And as I say, it was, for me anyway, it seemed a very technical thing.
We spent a lot of time rehearsing, so it depended. We used to do 1 week of filming, if there was filming. Then we do 10 days rehearsal, 2 days studios, and those studio days you went from 10 a.m. in the morning till 10 p.m. at night, but you also had a makeup call often at usually about 8 o'clock in the morning, so you went from 8 o'clock till 10, and then you had another 10 days rehearsal, and then another 3 days in the studio, and once again 8 till 10, and to be honest with you, as Peter said, there was so much technical stuff to get through, and the effects that we used were so clunky and difficult to operate that you felt like the least important thing on the studio floor, didn't you, a lot of the time?
Yeah, no. I mean, I'd done quite a lot of acting work before I started Doctor Who, and that had been more drama-based, so it was a complete change with so much technical stuff to swallow when you're doing Doctor Who, and as Janet said, you were the least important thing, because mainly it was all ironed out, or supposedly ironed out, in the rehearsal time. So the studio was all about the technical side and stuff. But often we'd spend 10 days rehearsing something in the rehearsal rooms and find that what it was that we'd been rehearsing just wasn't going to work in the studios. It was Colin Baker's costume in Ark of Infinity. We rehearsed him walking through a door into a room, and we discovered that his costume, when he had his hat on, he couldn't physically fit through the door with his hat on, so he had to then hold the hat under his arm, and it had a big plumage, and it became known as the cockerel. We called it the cockerel. So Colin had this big cockerel. So there's all sorts of things that you would assume in the rehearsal rooms, and you get to the studio and someone hadn't talked to somebody and the set was all wrong for what we'd done, and so there was always things to change again in the studio. So there was, we were always busy doing that.
There we go then. Thank you very much for taking time out of your assignments to come and have a chat with us.
Thank you.
Put your hands together for Peter Davison, Sarah Sutton and Janet Fielding.